Good morning. Oh, it's playing an advert on my own video. How are we all doing today? Saturday Ninja Fever. Here we go. Who we got in the house? Alan Dawson, George Aitken, good to see you. Chris Miwa, Beta Ray Bob, James Brewster, Kieran Ball. In your opinions, is there a difference between Kung Fu and Ninja movies? Yes, there is a difference between Kung Fu and Ninja movies. Ninja movies have to have ninjas in them. A lot of Kung Fu movies, like your Bruce Lee type stuff in the 70s, ninjas didn't really get popularised until the 80s. Michael Schaefer, how you doing? Can everyone hear me okay? Does it sound good? Let me just do a sound check. Okay, does it sound good? Yep. Cool. Yes, George Aitken, ninjas have swords and throwing stars. The throwing stars, I believe, were called shuriken. Matt Ludi, John Baldry, Tim Hayes. Hey, everyone's in the house. Jody, good to see you back, man. Alan Dawson actually has a friend who is a ninja instructor. That's cool. Sorry, just replying to a quick message there. Gaz. Hello, Tony. Hello, everyone. Sho Kosugi, the best ninja of the 80s. He'll always be my storm shadow. Yeah, I really like Sho Kosugi and his movies as well. I think one of my favourite ninja movies from the 80s is Revenge of the Ninja, which is a Sho Kosugi classic. I love that movie. Keith Holmesley, Tony, how many carded Rambo figures you got, and were they hard to find or expensive? I'm not really up to speed on current prices, Keith. I haven't sort of picked up anything Rambo for a while, apart from the very generous donation of a sealed mortar that we got from Scuba Pete in the last live stream. Rambo in general, certainly the first wave stuff, is not that expensive or difficult to get. It wasn't obviously that popular in the 80s, and you can still readily get carded figures. I've got about 6 of the first 12, I think, carded. This card actually isn't sealed. I put him back into the card for this. When I purchased this, the card had already been opened, so I got it a bit cheap. But I think I've got Gripper, Nomad, Sergeant Havoc, Firepower Rambo, and Troutman carded. So I've got 5 sealed cards, and this open card. But yeah, it's actually a really good toy line to collect Rambo, because so definitely the second wave stuff is much harder to get and much more expensive. I don't think I have anything from the second wave. But yeah, you can still pick up loads of cool Rambo stuff. It's readily available and it's not that expensive. So really fun toy line to collect. Timothy Ward, my ever faithful moderator, good to see you. He says he sees carded Rambo stuff periodically pop up on eBay. Yep, it's there quite often. Question there from Matt Ludi. I had some of those solid black rubber ninja toys. Do you remember them? No articulation whatsoever. They were more like dog toys. I'm not sure what you mean. Possibly they are the Secret of the Ninja ones from Remco. I've never actually had them. I don't know how well articulated they are. Jody's asking if these are Ninja Turtles or Hero Turtles. I suppose we have to discuss that while we're here, don't we? So when the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles phenomenon it exploded right across the globe. It was the biggest pop culture franchise. To me, Ninja Turtles really marks the point where I got out of toys. I remember seeing the original Playmates toys in toy stores, and had an inkling to pick them up, but I would have been around 12 at the time, and I was like, no, I was getting out of playing with toys. But when Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was released in the UK, the UK had lots of censorship laws around violence in children's TV and cartoons, which is why we never got Rambo aired on television. I don't believe a lot of GI Joe or Action Force was even aired on TV. You could rent them on VHS tapes from the local video shop. You could rent some of the series and movies and stuff. So when they brought Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles out, they thought that the name Ninja was too violent, so they renamed it as Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles. So thank you for the super chat, Jody, and the question or comment. Venkman, good to see you here. Really nice vintage complete version 2 Snake Eyes, but my Timber is missing a leg, and trying to find a replacement is frustrating. Timber is always being sold as a... I just want Timber by himself. So I've got Timber here, and his back paw... I've got some cat hair stuck there. His back paw has broken off, so I've got a little bit of sticky tack on there, and I always stand him with his broken paw on the figure stand for Snake Eyes, so that he stands at the correct angle. But yeah, it's a common issue with Snake Eyes, which is surprising because this was my favourite figure when I was a kid. By the time I'd finished playing with Action Force when I was a child, this figure had the loosest joints of any figure in the collection because he was so well played with. But my Timber never broke when I was a kid. Maybe the plastic gets more brittle as time goes by, but or maybe I just didn't play with Timber as much as I did with Snake Eyes. Black Chandler Mirage. I saw a loose vintage Snake Eyes on Facebook Marketplace. Loose, but everything is included and in okay condition. $150 though. That's too much, man. Okay, so this one's got the broken foot. I think I paid about $70 for this. Not that long ago. Jody, thoughts on the best version of Snake Eyes, version 1, version 2, or any other renditions? It's version 2 for me. Always will be version 2 because that is how he appeared in the Action Force Weekly comics. It was version 2. We did have some comic strips where he was still in his original version 1. The continuity in Action Force Weekly was all kind of messed up because we had an original storyline produced by Marvel Comics UK, which was a sort of main running storyline that went through the whole sort of 50 issues of Action Force Weekly. But inside each episode, you would also get original G.I. Joe... Original G.I. Joe stories would be sort of transplanted in there. But the continuity was all... Or the timeline, I suppose, was all mixed up. So the first issue that you see Snake Eyes, he's on the cover of issue 2, my favourite issue, where him and Scarlet are in the sewers underneath London chasing a cobra eel. And on that cover... Snake Eyes is dressed as he is in version 2 there. Beta Ray Bob, being a fan of Snake Eyes from the beginning in '82, I was never a big Timber fan, and I prefer his version 1 Commando version. Although he could have used some better boots on that first figure. Yeah, well, to me, the version 1 Snake Eyes will always be Stalker from Action Force SAS, where he's got just a few grey paint applications. Yes, Silent Interlude is a great issue. George Aitken has still got those Marvel Action Force comics somewhere. I really need to start collecting those again. It's a 50-issue run. Yeah, I really need to reacquire Action Force Weekly because that's my all-time favourite comic. And with only 50 issues and a few, I think, annuals and maybe like a holiday special or something like that, I don't think it would take too long to acquire the entire run, so I might have to do that. Michael Schaefer, do they have a bound version of that story? Not that I'm aware of. If they do, please let me know, because I would definitely pick it up. Chris Meaver says he loves the relation between Storm Shadow and Spirit on the G.I. Joe cartoon. Storm Shadow shows he still has his honour in those episodes. Yeah, although it was a lot of comments get made around the fact that in the comic it was always sort of Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes were the counterpoint to each other, and that's the mythology that I grew up with in the comics. And then in the cartoon it was Storm Shadow and Spirit. And I think the simple reason that they chose to do that in the Sunbow production was because Snake Eyes didn't talk, and being a visual audio media, a cartoon, it made sense to sort of pair up this running conflict between two characters, with two characters who could communicate with each other. Did you ever have any Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle figures when you were young? Says that American kid. No, I didn't. That was pretty much that was when I was at the age I was getting out of toys. I do remember seeing them in stores, and I do remember contemplating purchasing them, but never did. Magnificent Kaboom. Analog Toys does great work. Looking forward to Analog Toys explaining the meaning of the word analog to younger viewers. Very considerate to do chat early in the morning. Yep, I always have to do these chats early in the morning because most of my viewership is in the United States and the UK. So this time frame sort of makes the most sense. I was potentially going to do it even earlier, but I didn't want to clash with the Retroblasting live stream, which started at 2 a.m. for me. That's far too early for me to get up, but normally on a Sunday I will sit down in the afternoon and watch the live stream back again, so I'm looking forward to that. I hope it was a good one, as it usually is. Jodie's saying, thoughts on ninjas being popular but samurai not so much. I also think that samurai are popular. I'll tell you, Jodie, growing up in the 80s, my dad was really into samurai movies. I remember watching the Bushido Blade with him and some movies like that. I think samurai were popular in a different era. Certainly, obviously, in Japan, when you look at Akira Kurosawa, one of the greatest filmmakers of all time, who actually inspired Star Wars. Well, the Hidden Fortress was the inspiration for this original Star Wars storyline. Yeah, my dad was always really into samurai movies, but I think there weren't that many samurai movies in the 80s, and ninjas, on the other hand, it became a pop culture phenomenon, thanks to the very low budget movie studio Canon, who made a ton of ninja movies in the 80s. Another personal favourite of mine, 80s ninja movies, is American Ninja, who I've always believed that is the Snake Eyes origin movie that we never got, with Michael Dudikoff as Snake Eyes. Kurosawa films are a 1960s staple, but ninja films are a cheesy 80s thing thanks to Sho Kosugi. Yeah, 100%. Completely agree with that comment. Jump in General says, do you collect carded 25th anniversary G.I. Joe figures? What are your thoughts on collecting them? No, I don't. I picked up a few when they were probably about 10 years ago. I picked up a few. I've got so many holes in my vintage collection, I would rather collect the vintage. I think if I had a very extensive collection of vintage G.I. Joe, then I would potentially start getting some of the more modern stuff. But yeah, I'm really chasing the vintage. Check out the movie Ran. It's Kurosawa's samurai movie from the 80s with good messages. Yes, that's a great film, Ran. A lot of people talking about the flag. I certainly don't have a USSS flag. Very, very pricey, as Jody says. I would be prepared to pay up for a flag. The issue I have is that they don't come up for sale in Australia. I do believe they were sold here. Like I've seen the odd one or two pop up over the years on eBay Australia. Yeah, if I was to buy one, I would have to buy it from the States. And when you're spending a couple of $1,000s for an action figure playset, and then you've got to drop $600 on shipping, it really puts you off. So we'll see. We'll see. Maybe when this pandemic is over and I do a trip to the United States, I'll pick one up and then before I fly back to Australia, I'll just throw all my clothes in the bin and fill my suitcase with a parted out flag or something. Who knows? Yeah, getting a flag. There goes Gracie's walk-in closet. No, I think I've actually got room in the collection up there to sit it right in the centre and be able to walk around it. I'm very lucky with the size of the room I have upstairs for the collection. George Aitken says, "Is Big Trouble in Little China a ninja movie or a kung fu movie?" I would say it's a kung fu fantasy. It's certainly not a ninja movie. I don't recall any ninjas in it, to be honest. Little brother's asking if I've seen Ninja Assassin. What do I think about it? I don't think I finished the movie. It was so bad I couldn't get through it. So bad, which was a shame because I was really looking forward to that movie when it was coming out. It looked like some 80s schlock. I suppose that's a little bit hypocritical of me to say that as well, because I think if I was to watch back some of the 80s Sho Kosugi movies now, they would be terrible as well. But, at the time when I was a young child watching them, they were just, yeah, they were guilty pleasures. um, 70s was very heavy with the Orient on TV, with the Water Margin, Shogun, Monkey, Kung Fu, and the film Enter the Dragon. Yeah, Bruce Lee really popularised Eastern movies, Kung Fu movies. It was a great time. I loved the Kung Fu TV show. I loved Bruce Lee movies growing up, but they're not ninja movies. This is not the full extent of all the ninja action figures that I have. I've got the original Turtles somewhere packed away. I need to find them and dig them out. I don't have them here for the stream. But let's see. And I'm only talking vintage here. I don't want people to sort of shout out all these modern ninja figures. But think back to the 80s. What were some classic ninja action figures that I don't have here on the table? The first, probably most glaring omission is Ninja from Masters of the Universe. I don't have that figure. I would love to acquire it. Who else do we think should be in the collection? Because as the patrons will know, I'm sort of getting ready to do a top 10 vintage ninja action figure video. And I've kind of already got in my head what those top 10... I haven't kind of put them in order yet, but I've kind of got in my head what those 8 figures are. The Ninja Turtles will be on the list, but they're not going to get 4 different slots. I'm just going to bunch them all together into one slot because I think it's a bit unfair to... Yes, version 1 Storm Shadow. Yeah, I don't have version 1 Storm Shadow. I never had version 1 Storm Shadow when I was a kid. I had a carded one for a while that I picked up for an absolute bargain on eBay Australia and ended up selling it probably a year or two later for about a $700 profit because I needed the money to fund some other purchases. I think I was getting some Lone Ranger stuff at the time. So version 1 Storm Shadow. We've got Remco's Secret of the Ninja. Yes, Super Ninja from Chuck Norris's Karate Commandos. What other ninja figures were there? Beta Ray Bob says he thinks that Leonard's the Core had some ninja characters, but I don't remember if they ever had names. I don't think many of did the Core have names? I never collected the Core, so. Michael Schaefer's asking how many people in the chat wanted a throwing star for their birthday. I remember when I got into high school and I started to do like metalwork as a subject. We used to cut out 2 triangles of tin, put the 2 triangles together, sort of opposing to make the shape of a ninja star, and then we had a little spot welder, and you'd spot weld them together, and flick them up, and it had like some insulation in the ceiling of the building, and we would throw them up and stick them in the ceiling of the metal workshop classroom. And I'm sure if you went back to that high school now, because it's a very high ceiling, there would still be ninja stars stuck in the ceiling. Chris Miwa says, wasn't there a ninja in Thundercats alongside the Samurai Warrior? I'm not sure. I'm not really up on Thundercats. It was never a franchise I got into. Toy Bounty Hunter, would Shredder be on the list separately? Yeah, I think Shredder needs to have a separate slot if he makes the top 10. I haven't fully locked in the top 10 yet. Badre Bali says, that's right, ninjas became a thing because you guys love that Japanese drama Shintaro the Samurai. Yeah. Kieran Ball, unless the flag is mint in box, it has always suffered damage with the clips and warping of the plastic. Yeah, I'm not too concerned about the clips. I know you can get 3D printed replacements. I'd be happy with those. Yeah. To be honest, I would probably like to get a substandard condition flag that I can actually do a restoration on. I think I would enjoy that, and it would probably make for a good series of videos as well. Keith Holmesley says Shredder from the 1990 movie would definitely make the top 10. Here's an interesting one. So I don't think anyone can clearly define what makes a toy vintage and what doesn't, because for a long time to me it was anything 90s was not vintage, it was modern. But now when you think about it, a toy from 1993 is 27 years old. It probably is vintage now. So I have my own kind of rules around vintage, and it's basically the toys that I grew up with up to around 89, 90, and then beyond that, if it wasn't part of my childhood, I don't consider it vintage. But one of the figures that I would like to see appear in the top 10 would be the red Action Man Ninja from the first re-release of Action Man in 1993. That was a really cool figure, an awesome outfit. He had all of the accessories. What do you guys reckon? Do you reckon 1993 qualifies for vintage? Do you think that can make the list? Jeff Morris says, I think vintage toys changes per person. If it was a toy I enjoyed when I was a kid, it is vintage to me. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying, Jeff. That is how I view it. And when I say that, it's just my interpretation of what I consider a vintage toy. If you consider a toy from 1997 to be vintage, that's fine. But it potentially won't go onto my top 10 list. Timothy Ward, to me, vintage is 25 years old and older. It also must be the original version of the toy. Yes, and not a re-release. I think that's pretty good. If we go with that, Tim, then I can... Excuse me. Then I can squeeze my Action Man Red Ninja onto the top 10 list. So... Broken Wolf 668. Seeing as how I was already out of high school in 93, go for it. Okay. Thank you. Keith Holmesley, I still bought toys in the 90s. I was driving and buying Power Rangers. Well, I'm pretty sure I started rebuying, so I probably stopped around 12. I started rebuying, I think, around the age of 15 when the G.I. Joe Hall of Fame series came out, and we got the first 12-inch Duke and Cobra Commander and Snake Eyes and all those. I was buying those. Jody, thank you very much for the super chat. Ninja ordered on eBay. Need to hunt down some accessories, but it should be on the way to you soon. Oh, thank you very much, Jody. I was not expecting that. Oh, now I've got to hunt down some accessories for Ninja. That's not going to be easy. Analog Toys. I've seen a documentary on the show's popularity in Australia. Shintaro was bigger than the Beatles to Australians at the time. I've never heard of it, man. I'm going to have to look it up. Zanjana says antique shops and pawn shops use the 25-year rule. Okay, that's interesting. Yes, Keith, Jody is Santa Claus. So's George Aitken. Black Chandler Mirage. We're talking about ninjas, but no mention of Tobakaji. Is that how you say it? I've never heard of that. Never heard of that. Master Hoarder. I envy people that's an adult with a job in the 80s would have bought everything. Uh, yeah, I certainly would have. Oh, James Brewster, thank you very much. He says, I need to have a look, Tony, but I believe I have an extra ninja bow I can send you. That would be amazing. That would be really cool. Anyone remember the Hammer horror kung fu film called Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires? No, I don't, but I'll bet you what Tim Hayes would know that. Francisco says, when am I going to talk about the Mego Pocket Heroes? I don't know. I don't know. I will eventually make a video about Mego Pocket Heroes one day, but I'll probably need to acquire a few more first. Keith Holmesley, I only want a DeLorean time machine to go back and buy toys in the 80s. Yeah, I would probably go back to the 70s and buy toys. Even though I wasn't born till 77 and didn't really get into toys until the 80s, I have an innate fondness of 70s toys because I had a lot of hand-me-down stuff when I was a kid. So I grew up with Evil Knievel, $6 Million Man, 70s Action Man, even some 60s stuff. That's what I grew up with. So BD says, did you see the new Amanaman repro coming from Stan Solo? Yes, I have seen that announcement, and I will definitely be purchasing one of those when they are ready to be shipped. Tim Hayes, he has the DVD of The Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires, so we'll probably get the Blu-ray at some point. I knew Tim Hayes would be familiar with that movie. He is the cinema expert around these parts. Let's talk for a moment about Black Dragon. So Black Dragon and White Dragon were the two ninjas that got introduced into Rambo and the Force of Freedom, which I always found odd when I was a child because being in the UK, they didn't air the cartoon, so I wasn't aware of it. So when the toys were first coming out, I thought they were based on Rambo the movie, and I just could not understand why they had two ninjas in there. Having said that, I wasn't complaining because I love ninjas. I never owned White Dragon when I was a kid, but I did have Black Dragon, and he was one of my favourite Rambo action figures. He's got some really cool accessories. So he's got like a red sheath that straps around his chest, so he can carry his sword in his back. He's got another strap around his ankle for his throwing knife. He's got a wrist strap that holds a shuriken. So there you go, there's his ninja throwing star on his wrist. And his crossbow, it's a spring-powered crossbow, but it has a line attached to it so that when you fire it, it only goes out so far and then the rope runs out. He grabs it. But it's a very, very cool, it's a classic looking ninja figure. And I would often sort of play out scenes from American Ninja or Revenge of the Ninja or with my Rambo figures, with him being the Sho Kosugi character or Michael Dudikoff character. Dave Yardbird says the 50 cal machine gun from Rambo is a perfect upgrade for the new Classifieds roadblock. That's it, yeah, it would be. It'd be perfect size, and that's something that you have to do because the weapon that came with the new Classified roadblock is just awful. Venkman, oh, I still need to get Blue Snaggletooth Yak Base and that went past. And Han and Stormtrooper Disguise from the Fan Strike Back and or Stan Solo. Yeah, they're all fantastic figures. And if you need them to fill holes in your collection, I'd definitely recommend picking them up. Tony, what's the deal with the UK's ban on the word ninja? Example, Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles. I've seen it pointed out many times. Why was this the case? But I've never heard it explained. Just simply because it wasn't so much to do with the toys. It was more to do with TV. There was a lot of censorship around British children's TV in the UK at that time. And the censorship board were very strict on anything violent, and they considered ninja a violent word. So they weren't allowed to use the word ninja, and they also weren't allowed to show scenes of Michelangelo using his nunchucks. So often it was replaced with a rope and grappling hook. And because they had to change the name for the cartoon, and obviously the cartoon was used to help promote the toy line, they had to change the name of the toys in the UK. So if there was no cartoon, these would have still been called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in toy aisles in the UK. It's more to do with the censorship of the cartoon as to why they changed the name. I hope that made sense and answered your question. Retroblasting, good to see you. Ninjas rock, love this subject. Let's cause chaos on a gold course. Yes. Aaron Nicemonger. Jeff Morris, I don't mind having holes in my Star Wars and G.I. Joe collections. If I didn't own it as a kid, I really don't care to rebuy it as an adult unless it's something I wanted as a kid and never got. Yeah, I'm certainly not a completist collector, but there are certain toy lines that I am really trying to fill out. G.I. Joe and Star Wars are probably the two, but I keep getting sidetracked. You know, when I have plans for a video, I often start, or basically the last year, it's all been about Action Force, trying to complete that collection to bring you the series of videos, of which there is one more on its way very soon. It's interesting that the whole concept of ninja is still around to this day. Yeah, it's certainly not as popular now as it was, but yeah, when you know, ninjas became a major sort of running plot through all the G.I. Joe continuity, be it the cartoon or the comic. They then introduced ninjas into the Rambo cartoon and the Rambo toy line, which, you know, Rambo was never about ninjas. The original concept of Rambo, anyway. And ninjas dominated the 80s, and I absolutely loved them. I loved ninja movies growing up. I really did. I would really like to get a prop. My brain's not working. I'd like to get a prop ninja sword, like the one that was carried by Sho Kosugi in all of his movies. There is a name for it, but it escapes me at the moment. It's got a diamond shaped hilt, a very very short, a very very straight blade as opposed to the curved blade of a samurai sword. Have you ever seen the Hasbro Ninja Warriors and the Imperial Karate Defenders toy line? No, I don't think so. Oh, Alan Dawson, thank you very much. A Ninjato, that's what it's called, Ninjato. Yeah, I would love to get a prop Ninjato, that would be cool. Hanging up on the wall somewhere. Or Ninja Toe, yeah. Alan Dawson, you seem to know quite a lot about ninjas and ninja swords. Is this because your friend's a ninja instructor? Unfortunately, there's a stigma that got latched onto ninjas because of the fake ninja masters and the rise of MMA that played a part in its decline. Yes, yeah. Because ninjas, the way they were sort of depicted in the 80s anyway, and certainly in many of the movies, a lot of the canon movies, they almost had a supernatural element to them. And, they did things that were superhuman and not quite possible. You know, almost magical in a sense. Which you could get away with in the 80s, you could not get away with today. So. Keith Holmesley, Tony, have you ever come across Rambo, the Force of Freedom hide figure with the dome on his head, or Snakebite and Touchdown Jones? No, I've never come across any of them. I was very lucky when I made my Toy Histories episode on the Rambo toy line that I had a digital copy, a very high quality digital copy of a Coleco trade catalogue that had high quality images of all of those figures. So I was able to use those trade catalogue images in the video. Dustin says, anyone ever get that mail order catalogue back in the 80s? Asian World of Martial Arts. There were so many magazines around in the 80s around ninjas, and there was one that I used to pick up the odd issue. I think it was called Ninja Combat or something like that. Yeah, George Aitken, he remembers playing the last Ninja games on the Commodore 64. There've been a lot of Ninja games as well. Retro Blasting has the Ninjato, a replica of the Sho Kosugi's Ninjato. Yeah, I'd love to get one. I'm just not sure if I purchase one from the States, if I would be able to get it through customs into Australia. I don't know what their rules are around that. I'd probably have to do a little bit of research before dropping some money on something that might not get cleared in customs. Tony, Cobra Ninja is great. Yojo, do you like the new toy as opposed to the 80s figure? What are you talking about, Michael Herring? Are you talking about the G.I. Joe Classifieds? Because no. The odd one or two I think are okay. Certainly the Red Ninja I don't like. I don't like Storm Shadow. The vast majority of them I'm not keen on, so I'm not even going to start collecting that line. Although I did have a friend pre-order the deluxe Snake Eyes for me when it was first announced. I do still want to get that figure now that I've kind of committed to it, but I will not be collecting any others. It's a shame that the very first figure they brought out looked really, really cool, and then they did the standard release Snake Eyes, and changed all of his weapons to look like Nerf guns as opposed to the traditional Uzi, and I'm like, I don't understand why, and I won't be collecting them. Yeah, Revenge of the Ninja is a classic. I think Revenge of the Ninja and American Ninja would be my two favourite ninja movies of the 80s. Whose comment was that? Yeah, Keith Holmesley. G.I. Joe Classifieds should be called G.I. Joe 2049. Yeah, exactly. They can't be G.I. Joe 2020 because none of them are wearing face masks. Well, actually, the Cobra Trooper's probably he's set up for the pandemic. George Aitken, he's got the standard release Snake Eyes, not the limited edition one. Yeah, so a lot of people have already acquired the limited edition one, but my friend pre-ordered it for me on Hasbro Pulse and it hasn't shipped yet. So I don't understand how some people get these. And even this whole debacle with the Cobra Island exclusives at Target, when they keep changing the street date, and some people can pick them up in stores, and then I know other people go to stores in the state. And this is just what I hear on sort of social media, that other people go to other Target stores and they get told, no, we're not allowed to sell them yet. It's all a complete cock up, and it's getting worse and worse by the minute. My social media was blowing up yesterday with the announcement of another wave of Masters of the Universe Origin figures going on pre-order at Walmart, and I think everyone was clamoring for Scareglow, and he sold out in like 5 minutes. They're just not making enough to satisfy collector demand. Jody, thank you for the super chat. Just cause, appreciate that. And Venkman, thank you for the super chat as well. When making Goldfinger, Guy Hamilton said US censors hated sex and didn't mind violence. The UK censors were all about violence and didn't mind sex. That's that's pretty true. I think I'm sure around that time in the UK we had all of the Carry On movies, if you're familiar with those, which was always sexual innuendo infused humour on the Carry On movies. So that's a fair comment, I'd say. George Aitken, my mate's got a couple of those 6-inch scale snow speeders. I might have a chat with you after, George, because I've recently purchased a couple of Hoth Rebel Soldiers from the Black Series line and the Luke Skywalker Snowspeeder outfit figure. So I'm potentially looking to get a Snowspeeder. I was hoping to get one. There was some for sale in Australia a couple of weeks ago, but I didn't pull the trigger straight away. And then when I went to have a look yesterday, they were all gone. So I'm probably now going to have to get it from overseas and pay a bit for shipping. Zanjana, the Snowspeeder is disappointing. Really, I saw the review on my friend Sal's channel, 2 Cents Toys. I saw his review of the Snowspeeder, the 6-inch Black Series one. I thought it looked pretty cool. I was quite impressed with it. I think the one thing that would improve it would be a nice acrylic display stand, but we can figure something out there. Yeah, Michael Schaefer's not disappointed with his. Is the Snowspeeder better than the Cloud City Bridge thing? Easily better. The Cloud City Bridge playset is garbage. Utter. There's no other word to describe it without swearing, I suppose. Keith Holmesley, I ended up with an extra Snowspeeder Luke figure and Hoth Rebel figures. Ah, cool. Yeah, I was looking around yesterday in Australia to purchase some. For some reason, the scalpers are charging extra for those 2 figures, and I really wanted to get 2 Rebel Soldiers. Actually, can anyone tell me? I was looking at the Rebel Soldier, and it has this additional accessory which looks to me like you put it over the face, and it looks as though the scarf goes over the face, but I'm not quite sure. If anyone knows, let me know. Yeah, I really wanted 2 of those, and I wanted the Luke in X-Wing, and trying to buy them in Australia individually and then adding up the postage, it was getting quite expensive. And then I found a seller in the UK that literally had 2 Rebel Soldiers and Luke in X-Wing, selling it as a lot of 3. And even with the postage from the States, it ended up being cheaper than buying them here in Australia. So I pulled the trigger straight away. Badro Bali, wasn't there a ninja-themed Action Man figure? In the 90s, there were quite a few. There was a red ninja that came out in the very first wave, and then it seemed like every wave after that, there would be a different type of ninja-styled Action Man. Project Zircon has a question. Do you remember Brayden in Revenge of the Ninja with the silver mask? Of course I do. I remember that movie very, very well. He also had a full robot imposter of himself that he somehow carried to the top of a skyscraper and had hidden there. Like, that's just bonkers. Keith Holmesley, I'm only disappointed that my Black Series Speeder didn't at least have light and sounds. Yeah, that's not really a deal breaker for me, because I don't like to store any toys with batteries in them anyway, so yeah. Analog, how much does Black Series cost in Australia? They cost $40 here. Sad, I know, but I bought them anyway. Well, when I picked up the 4 figures from Kmart not that long ago, so I got Hoth Leia, Bespin Han, Bespin Luke, and Yoda. They were $35 each Australian, which I believe is around $25 US each in Kmart. But if you're buying them online, they tend to go a little bit more for about $40. Then plus postage. I actually don't know what the sort of standard retail price is, but certainly here in my local Kmart, this is a very remote town. When they get Black Series in, they get one case, one of each figure. It goes on the shelf, and there must be other people in town who collect stuff, because for anyone who watched that video I made, I did eventually go back to Kmart about a week or so later, and I was going to pick up the ADAT driver that I left behind. And a week later, it was gone. It was sold. And it'll probably be months before we get any more Black Series in, and then we'll get one case, and it'll go really quick. Phil Chadwick, we have spoken about Ninja. The reason he's not on the table is I don't have him, but he certainly is one of the great Ninja action figures of the 80s. Tim Ward saw the Black Series Dagobah, Luke and Yoda 2 back at Walmart today. Was not impressed with the sculpt on Yoda. Yeah, I'm not too concerned about getting the Dagobah 2 pack, because I use the Bespin Luke figure that I've got is actually, to me, a Dagobah Luke. I've got him now with Dagobah R2-D2 and Yoda. Analog Toys, would you consider talking about the 90s relaunch of Action Man, specifically the cartoon? Yes, I would. When the 90s Action Man came out, it came out in 93 in the UK. I think it came out a year later here in Australia. So first of all, we got the G.I. Joe Hall of Fame series, and then about a year later, we started to get Action Man on toy store shelves. And because I was excited to see Action Man in toy stores again, I was buying everything, probably from 94 to 96. I was buying everything that came out. And then after a while, I'm like, no. I think this has happened to a lot of collectors, you know. At the same time, I was also collecting Power of the Force 2 Star Wars stuff. And then years later, you just pine for the original vintage stuff that you have, and you end up selling off your modern collections. But yeah, I would, you know, the 90s Action Man was a huge toy line, and I'm very, very familiar with it because I collected a lot. I wouldn't need a lot of them to make a video. I don't have any. I would like to get some, but I would also like to really acquire. They did some sort of special edition Action Man figures based on James Bond movies, where the face sculpt was still Action Man, but you could get him in the outfit of the Thunderball sort of scuba suit. You could get him in the GoldenEye outfit. There was a number of others. I would really like to collect those and make a video, a combination of James Bond and 90s Action Man. So, Jody, thank you for the super chat. Just Cos Mark II. Appreciate that. Analog Toys, is that the only Storm Shadow you have? If not, why that choice? Yes, this is the only Storm Shadow that I have. As I said, I did have version 1 carded at one point, which I picked it up for a bargain, and then I ended up selling it because I just couldn't turn down making a $700 profit on a toy. But I never had version 1 Storm Shadow. It was the one figure from the 1987 release of Action Force, because Snake Eyes Storm Shadow version 1 was in the 1987 Action Force release. It was the one figure in the entire wave that I did not get when I was a child. But I did have version 2, and I really like version 2. One of the things I particularly like about version 2 is the Arashikage clan tattoo on the forearm. But I think this has a much better head sculpt than version 1. I do like the camouflage style. He's actually missing his sword. I need to reacquire his sword. This figure's not complete. And actually, when I brought him down here yesterday to put him on display, he had been sitting on a Cobra ferret. And I took him off the ferret and grabbed the stand to put him on and discovered that his O-ring had started to perish. So I had to do a quick repair on this figure, or replace the O-ring before I brought him down here. Yes, Michael Schaefer, Bond Action Man would be perfect. Not all the figures were great. There were some that I didn't particularly like, but Goldeneye was certainly a very... The outfit he wears is sort of from the opening scene, and it actually comes with a little Goldeneye accessory. It's excellent. Aaron Nicemonger says, wow, I never knew about the James Bond Action Man sets. I learned something new. Thanks for the feedback. Yeah, if you just go on eBay and search James Bond Action Man Hasbro, you'll see heaps of them available. And yeah, I am very tempted to go and reacquire some of those. I think there was about 6 in total. I think they did Tomorrow Never Dies, Thunderball. They did The Spy Who Loved Me in the yellow ski suit with the parachute and everything. That would be very, very cool. Hugh says, great review by Action Figure Resource. Is that the Action Man James Bond figures? I didn't even know they'd done a review of that. The Full Force Podcast. Good to see you, Chris. How you doing, mate? Matt Ludi, You Only Live Twice had ninjas. Yeah, it did. My tea's gone cold now. So, guys, we've got no mail to open today. I haven't had much mail this week. I've had a couple of bits, but it's just stuff that I've purchased for myself. But there's a lot on its way. George Aitken, The Spy Who Loved Me, just finished on SCV just now. That's cool. You're a bit of a James Bond fan, aren't you, George? Project Zircon says the best Special Forces unit today that is similar to ninjas is the Taiwanese Amphibious Commandos. Yeah, cool. The Full Force Podcast says that's his all-time fave Storm Shadow on the desk. And I completely agree with you, Chris. That's why he's here. This, to me, I know everyone, or the majority, not everyone, the majority of people always sort of talk about version 1, and it's that nostalgia that draws them to it, and the fact that that's how he was drawn in most of the comics, and that's how he appeared in the cartoon, is the version 1. But actually, if you sit back with an honestly critical eye, you'll find that the head sculpt on that figure is really bad. It's a really ugly head sculpt. This is the best Storm Shadow action figure they've ever done. And he will be appearing in my top 10 Ninja action figures video, which was coming sometime soon. I've got another video to do. I filmed a lot of it yesterday. I've got to finish the B-roll after the live stream, and there'll be another video dropping on Patreon today and then on YouTube tomorrow. At the very least, I would like to get the Action Man James Bond in the classic tux. Yes, yeah. That was a pretty cool figure. I'm trying to think what movie it was from. Tomorrow Never Dies, I think, is what they based that one on. Testing my memory now. Keith Holmesley, you bet he's number 1. Oh, you might be surprised, Keith. George Aitken, when are you doing the top 10 Action Force vehicles? I'm focused on Action Force Part 5, George. A top 10 Action Force vehicles video will come later. I think everyone knows my choice for number 1 already. The Robo Skull. Yeah. Yeah, I will do a top 10 Action Force vehicles video, but I want to get Action Force Part 5 out of the way and get that series completed first. I remember getting confused about Storm Shadow because I was watching the show where he was with Cobra, while at the same time I was reading the comics where he was a good guy. Yeah, I was lucky that, yeah, growing up, Action Force Weekly. I got all 50 issues of Action Force Weekly when I was in the UK, and then not long later I moved to Australia and I started buying G.I. Joe at just the right time when he was transitioning to the good guy, so it never confused me. Keith Holmesley, is karate considered ninja? No, it's not, in my opinion. Hugh says he's talking about the Action Man James Bond figures. Tomorrow Never Dies is in the tux, The Spy Who Loved Me in the yellow jumpsuit, and Goldeneye in the black outfit. Yeah, and there was also he was in a in his like admiral's uniform for another figure. You had the Thunderball scuba suit. There must have been about 6 of them all together, I think. Yes, Aaron, a Robo Skull reissue is badly needed. Yes, Keith, I did like your Robo Shark skull. Black Chandler Mirage, no, Keith, otherwise all martial arts films like Karate Kid will be ninja films, yeah. Ninjutsu is considered ninja, and it's in the name. That's right, Aaron. Vintage Toy Rush, which Dragon brother wins in the top 10? Are you talking about Black Dragon and White Dragon, or you'll have to wait for the top 10? Not Ninja, but I had every Corgi James Bond vehicle ever they made. Yeah, I had a few of them. I had a few. I certainly had the Lotus Esprit that turned into a bit of a submarine. I remember having that when I was a child. I so wish that we had held on to. I so wish that I'd held on to my 007 diecast cars. Oh my god, I remember them being way above average, even as a little kid. Yes, Aaron, that's yeah, they were cool. AM Comic 2, his favourite ninja is Storm Shadow. Yeah, your favourite ninja is Storm Shadow, but one of the rules I apply when I do a top 10 list of action figures is to pass judgment on the quality of the figure itself and not on the character. That's something completely different. So, as much as I like Storm Shadow, the character, I actually don't think version 1 Storm Shadow is as good as people remember. Yes, he had cool accessories. He's a white ninja. He's an awesome character with a fugly head, unfortunately. The version 1, that is. Yes, Alan Dawson, The World Is Not Enough, Russian Atomic Energy uniform. That's the one I was looking for, the blue outfit, yeah. So we've got World Is Not Enough. So which one is the Admiral's outfit from? Yeah, now I'm going to have to do some research after this and potentially start dropping a few of them into my eBay watch list and maybe trying to reacquire some of them. I know there are plenty of them out there to be able to reacquire still in the boxes, but some people ask stupid prices and they're actually not worth that much. They're not that hard to get. Yes, Commander Bond from You Only Live Twice. Thank you, Alan. That's it, and that's, I believe, is the set of like 6 or 7 of them. So. I'm going to wrap up the stream in a minute because I've got to finish filming B-roll for another video. But for those of you on the Patreon, you're already aware of this. I've picked up the set of 4 re-released Ghostbuster figures. I was going to make the video about these this weekend, and then I decided to go ahead and get Slimer and Stay Puft as well. So as soon as Slimer and Stay Puft arrive, there'll be a video about these re-released figures, which I haven't got any of them out of the package yet, but they look pretty good. They look pretty good. I've got an original Venkman there, so we can actually do a comparison of the vintage to the re-release. They look pretty good. That is the kind of treatment that G.I. Joe fans deserve, rather than that garbage Walmart retro series of 3 figures that are just recolored modern figures that we've already had before. So, I did believe Hasbro did Action Man James Bond figures from Thunderball, The Spy Who Loved Me. Thunderball, The Spy Who Loved Me, Goldeneye, Tomorrow Never Dies, and The World Is Not Enough. Premier exclusive did the 6-inch naval uniform. No, Hasbro did a naval uniform as well. I'm certain of it. I'll have a look afterwards. Little brother, thank you very much for the super chat. He says, cheers, bro. Thanks for the videos. It brings back my childhood memories. You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Tony, you're excited about those Ghostbuster reissues, and I knew you would, but I couldn't get them to you fast enough, Lo. I try. Oh, yeah. Thanks, Keith. That's actually happened a couple of times just lately. People have messaged me saying that they wanted to send me something, and then it turns out it's like, oh, I've already acquired that, or someone else is sending it, or whatever. So apologies, guys. I'm still an active collector. I don't collect a lot of modern stuff, and I do believe I said in a video a while ago that I had no interest in picking up modern toys, but I got the full set of the 4 Ghostbusters. It even came in a Hasbro shipping case. I've got all of them in here. They turned up on eBay Australia, the lot of 4 for a reasonable price, and I just couldn't say no. And I thought, it'd make a cool video. And after I got the 4, I was like, hey, look, I can't really do a proper video unless I get Slimer and Stay Puft as well. So, because the extent of my vintage collecting has never gone past this one figure here. And they are very difficult to acquire in nice condition. So, Keith Holmesy says those reissued Ghostbusters are great. Believe me, I do believe you. They look great from outside the package. What I need to do, so before I sort of film the video, I need to be able to study them, but I'll need to film a heap of B-roll of the actual card backs themselves, because once I get them open, then I can't film the cards. But I can't really write a script and talk about the toys until I've got them out and examined them. So it's one of those, I've got to do some filming first before I can crack them open, etc., etc. So, Alan Dawson says the 6th Action Man James Bond was Commander Bond in naval uniform from You Only Live Twice. Yeah, and that was released by Hasbro. Somehow we've gone from ninjas to James Bond, or Action Man James Bond, to Ghostbusters. So, yeah. Well, look, guys, it's been an hour. I know I normally go a little bit longer than that, but I have a lot to do today, and I just wanted to stop by and catch up with you and have a bit of a chat. It's been a great morning. I've enjoyed it. And you'll see me in another video. So the patrons should see me in a video in a couple of hours. I've just got a little bit more B-roll to film, and then we're good to go. So I hope you're all keeping safe and well in this crazy, crazy world. Wear a mask in public. Look like a Cobra Trooper. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks very much, guys. Appreciate it. Cheers.